Yeah, this is Gordon Tittsworth from Images of Eden. We are, I'd say the best way to describe us is sort of like a progressive influenced modern metal band. We have, definitely classic influences from the old classic metal bands. And we have a positive message. We're a heavy, chunky band, but we've got a definite uplifting message that everybody can relate to, no matter who you are or what you believe. Yeah, how you been, man? Good to see you.
Good. How are you? Good to see you as well.
Oh, it's all good. Just getting through every day, man. You know how it is.
Being busy?
Yeah, definitely busy. A lot of things are starting to happen again, and we're headed back to Europe for round
I saw
two.
that Germany, right?
Yeah, actually four shows in Germany, two in Netherlands, one in Switzerland, and we're actually on standby for a couple of festivals like Wacken, um, Alcatraz. Since we're touring with Soil, and Soil does have shows at these that
Oh,
they're kind
nice.
of, yeah, they're basically telling the organizers, hey, we're on site. If somebody should cancel last minute or something, we're ready to roll. So
That'd be big. Yeah.
anything can happen. I mean, we'll see
Right.
how it goes.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's probably only be like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, all good. I appreciate you reaching out to me, brother. Good to hear from you.
Just a fair warning. I'm looking for like next spring release because I have my regular job, my regular everything, life goes. So this is an ongoing thing, but we're
Yep,
looking for like spring. So now is the
all good.
interview phase and from there. So don't think I'm ignoring it. It just I may not get to the full thing till like next spring, next winter.
Yep, I get it, man. This isn't my first rodeo. I know how these things work.
Because I did an interview with somebody already, and they're like a week later, like, when does this come out? I'm like, hold on, dude. We're not even in, through the interviewing phase to see where it's going. So just chill and it'll work out.
It amazes me because I'll announce something. Just wrapping up the mix on the album, or even say something like, "Hey, just got done writing the album. Time to track." They're like, "Hey, when's the release date?" I'm like, "Hey, well, first of all, we have to track it, then we have to mix it, we have to master it, then we have to
Right.
wait for our label to reach out to Sony, the distributor, to say when can we release it." You know how it goes.
Yep. Anyway, so I've probably got like 5 questions. We'll see where they go. They're all about what
Yeah,
we talked about, just aging in the metal music, hard rock world, whatever you want to call it. If by some chance something's
yeah.
uncomfortable, we can move on. But there's nothing tricky and there's no game. So
No problem. If I have a little bit of a weird connection, I think we're going to be fine. But if anything hiccups, let me know. And if you want me to start over, and you can just
okay.
edit it out, that's cool too, man. No problem.
All right, so I don't have any order. I'm just going to throw these out, and they'll get
Yeah.
edited later. But looking back on your career, is there anything you wish you would have done differently, or any regrets you have as a musician?
Well, yeah. As far as anything differently, I think when we first start, when we're paying for studio time, it takes a long time to record certain things, and we had a couple of early albums where we actually paid for studio time, and I found myself sort of settling a little bit where I wouldn't have now. And you know how that goes when you are paying for studio time, you're watching that clock tick just move on and on and on. As far as regrets, I don't think I have any regrets. I mean, I never cease to turn over every single stone. So you have to see what's under every stone, and you have to look at everything and explore every opportunity. No regrets. Now, obviously, if I had known how some of these would have panned out, but you never know. Hindsight's always 2020. But yeah, I think that's the only thing I would regret is just spending a little more time on some production. But that's about it.
Okay. Also, I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you if I'm not speaking while you are. I'm trying to just get the best audio, the best everything. So
I'm easy to get along with, brother. I'm sure you know.
awesome. So as you reflect on the journey, then as a musician, hard rock, metal, whatever, what emotions arise when you think about the impact your music has had on fans throughout the years?
Whoa, that is huge. You know, um, we're not a band that just writes, mundane lyrics or, lack of a message or kicking beer cans around. I mean, everything that we write is very from the heart. It's something we've experienced. We're actually a band of survivors, whether it's abuse, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, PTSD, mental illness, loss. I mean, our lyrics come from the things that we have suffered through and the things that we fought through to be stronger in the end. So we really put everything we've got into them, especially, when I'm delivering vocals in the studio. I mean, I'm in there almost bawling my eyes out sometimes. And that's when I know that it's to where I want it. And so, yeah, when we're playing live, or we, get a message from a fan that says that something that we wrote helped them through a hard time, we wonder sometimes, is it worth everything that we put into it, especially in 2024 and being 50 plus years old? You wonder, you say, is this really worth it? But when you get that kind of testimonials, it makes it all worth it. It's basically the man above saying, yes, you are making a difference. Especially, we had 3 fans specifically use the phrase, "You saved my life." Something like that stays here for a very long time, and you don't forget that. So it is hugely important. And when we play live, I mean, we play all these songs, and I'm very, very upfront about the songs. This song's about almost dying from addiction. I got through. I'm here now. This is just proof that you can be less than 24 hours away from death, and turn it around and now live your best life. And you could see people, I know there are people in the audience every single night that are somebody's having some issue. Somebody needs to be pushed over that fence. And we have, you could see it in the audience, but we have people that will come up to us after our show to the merch booth and just tell us their story and just thank us for lifting them up. It's the best thing in the world. And it's definitely what keeps me going, man.
These okay so far?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you faced as an aging musician, and how have you overcome them?
Challenges. I don't know that we've really experienced many more challenges than someone who would be in their 20s, except, it's funny because nothing really huge happened until we got into our late 40s, 50s, which is very strange. It actually, I thought that the hardest challenge was going to be trying to find or trying to coordinate work schedules for all 5 of us to leave for a month to go on tour. I thought that was going to be near impossible. It was actually pretty easy. I thought that was going to be a huge challenge, but no, not at all. Other than that, it's definitely a challenge touring, because touring really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And first and foremost is there are egos that are definitely still carried forth from the 80s. And when somebody doesn't want you there, they make it very obvious and very clear. And they do not think twice of making life a little bit more difficult on you if they don't want you there. That has definitely been a challenge. I mean, it's hard enough being on tour as it is, but when it's like trying to drive a 2-wheel drive car through the mud with the parking brake on. It doesn't have to be that difficult. You know what I mean? I would say those would probably be the most challenging things that we've had. That and, the physical wear and tear. I mean, when I'm 20 years old, I could launch off of drum risers and do backflips and stuff like that, sort of. But now it's like I can't even launch off the drum risers. Our last tour, I mean, I'm taking I'm taking a oral steroid. I'm taking anti-inflammatories, and I've got knee braces on both knees, and I'm trying to act like I don't. So that's definitely a challenge.
Hello out there.
Hi, I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. We want to tell you about our podcast, None But the Brave, which is dedicated to taking a deep dive into the work of Bruce Springsteen.
We're currently in our 5th season. Our latest episodes focus heavily on Bruce's 2024 tour and have featured such guests as Anthony Castrovince from MLB Network and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
We're also covering the 40th anniversary of Bruce's biggest record, Born in the USA. And as part of that, coming up this week, Uprock's cultural critic Stephen Hayden returns to the show for a fascinating hour-long conversation about his new book, There Was Nothing You Could Do, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA and the End of the Heartland.
To listen, you can go to our website, mbtbpodcast.com, or subscribe on your preferred podcasting platform.
We hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.
Okay. Let's see. What role do you think nostalgia plays in the continued popularity of hard rock and classic heavy metal?
Oh, you know, nostalgia. Ooh. I think anybody my age, our age, who has been a fan their whole life, kind of looks back on the better days of rock and metal. These I would not consider the best times in rock and metal. There's definitely good material out right now, but I think the consensus would be, the 80s. The 80s were definitely, 80s rock, 80s metal. Those were the times that really stuck with everybody. But I would also say late 60s into the 70s too, during your Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Uriah Heep years, things like that. Deep Purple. So there were several good chunks of time. We always look back to the good old days, as it were. I would consider those the best of times. And it's one thing, those were my influences. So when I write here in 2024, I'm drawing from those influences, but I'm still trying to keep up with the current. So what you're going to hear from us is kind of walking that line between classic rock and classic metal, but in a modernized sound. And if we can do that, we're paying homage to both. So it works for me.
Fair enough. As you continue to age, or as we all continue to age, I guess, what legacy do you hope to leave behind from a musician's perspective? And how do you want to be remembered by future generations of fans?
As somebody who's basically 51, I'm going to be 52 this year. I'm the second youngest guy in the band. And we are living proof that you don't have to only you let your dreams die. It's funny. I talk to people I graduated high school with, or people my age, and they're like, I don't know how you do it. I had to stop playing. I said, well, why did you stop playing? They said, well, got married, had kids. I say, at 27, I had a sort of an instant family. I had a wife and a 4-year-old stepson, and that didn't stop me. I said, only you let your dreams die. If you want it badly enough, you're going to push it. You're going to pursue it. And I think that we are also, being our age and touring. I mean, I'm going to be almost 52 touring Europe, and we'll have toured a couple of times. I think that we are a good example of how you don't have to put an expiration date on your dreams, that if you are in your 30s or in your 40s, you can keep going. Keep going into your 50s. If you want this bad enough and you're relevant and you have good enough material and or how to get there and you're persistent, you can make it happen. Age has nothing to do with it. Hopefully we will inspire people in their late 40s, 50s, beyond that, think that the dream has to die at a certain age.
Fair enough. And I 100% agree with you, because here I am, doing this at a couple of years older than you, and it's in my blood. It's just what I know, and it's just what I'm going to do. So
it always is, man. It's just like, people say we're musicians, and no, it's not it's not what we are, man. It's in the blood. It's in the DNA. There's no taking it out.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It, brother.
Two more for you. What are some of the biggest challenges you face, and how have you overcome them?
Challenges I have. That's a good question. Touring is very taxing, and I'd said this previously, but there's there are people sometimes when touring that don't want you there, and they make it very obvious that they don't want you there, and they make it difficult on you because they can, and they don't want you there. So to kind of swallow that up and not make a stink about it and just be humble and keep going, we've had to bite our lip a lot. That's definitely hard. And it's funny, dealing with the different musicians over the years. And I think if you've been in any kind of band for any kind of length of time, I mean, we've been a band for basically 23 years now, you're going to run into your fair share of musicians that either are not serious, they come with drug or alcohol problems, they talk a lot and can't deliver. They want to come into an established act and change how the established act has been doing it for a long time. Had that recently. And just, Yoko's, that's another thing. And just unreliable. We've all dealt with those types of musicians, and it's, it took a long time to put the live lineup together. We had a couple of, kind of implosions that we had to sort of start from scratch on. After our Sunlight of the Spirit album, we kind of had to start from scratch. And then after our Rebuilding the Ruins album, we had to start from scratch. But since then, it's been pretty smooth. We've had to change our guitar player a couple times.
Okay. And then last one, it's a big one, but what advice would you give to younger musicians who are just starting off their journey in the hard rock metal genre?
Yeah, I've got a ton. First things first, always be cool to everybody you meet, regardless of how you're being treated. That's going to go a long way. I would say the biggest thing that's helped me too, learn all of the instruments. I started off on guitar with no intention of doing anything else. I kind of, after a while, said, well, bass is kind of interesting. Let me see how different the bass is. Then I was intrigued by learning drums and getting a working knowledge of drums and how everything laid out. And our high school band, we could never find a singer. And I said, well, let me see if I have any kind of semblance of a voice. And so I worked on that. And then later on, I knew we needed to put some ambient keys and some stuff. So I learned keys. So I really learned all the instruments. And I would definitely recommend everybody, if you're serious, learn all of the instruments. You have no idea how much it's going to benefit you. We've had times over the years where we didn't have a certain player and we were doing an album. I filled in on what I needed to fill in on. And it definitely, from a writing standpoint, if you just play one instrument from a writing standpoint, you're very limited. When I write, like I said, I've got working knowledge of everything. So I write primarily on guitar, but I'm hearing the different instruments and how they all kind of, arrange together. So I do full scale demos when I'm writing so I can hear the full song. That is going to be huge for you. I would say another thing that's huge, don't ever forget why you started playing music. It was for the love of music. The business end of music, the music business, is the worst business in the world. It is horrible. It is hard to sometimes justify how good the actual creative process is, because you've got this creative process that's so amazing. And the music business just tries to shatter all of that awesomeness, for lack of a better word. So learn to separate the business from the creative side, and don't let it discourage you, because it could very easily discourage you. If you get bad press, don't immediately think you need to give up and you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Bad press is going to happen. The one thing good about bad press is it means you have now graduated beyond your circle of friends and family in your hometown. It means you're to a point to where people in the world are hearing you and they're giving you honest opinions. But what I would say about bad press is this: if you start to see a trend in the bad press, pay very close attention to what the trend is. We did get that in an earlier album. I started to see a trend in some negative things, and I thought, well, this is easy. Now that I see what they're all talking about, I'm going to fix that for the next album. That's exactly what I did, and that didn't come back. And no matter what, somebody gave me a piece of advice early on. They said, don't ever give up. It's not about doing an album or two and exploding. Those days are gone. Keep doing what you're doing and stay its longevity. Most bands fail because they throw in the towel so quickly, or they implode after an album or two. Just continue on with it. Keep going and keep doing your thing. And another thing, we have had so many people over the years try to steer us in a different direction. Stay true to what your heart's telling you. When we were in the early days of Images of Eden, when the first album was out and we put the first live lineup together, people told us, you can't play originals around here in Baltimore. Nobody wants to hear them. If you want to play live, you're going to have to play cover songs. So I said, we're not a cover band. We may do a cover song here and there, of a band that we like, but we're not a cover band. Everybody wanted us to become a cover band. I said, we're even a couple of the members. I said, we're not a cover band. We're an original band. Then we had band members try to steer us in a different direction, and then we were been given bad advice. So always stay true to yourself. Always listen to the little voice, that small voice inside that's telling you what to do, and just be humble. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Gordon, thank you for your time. I hope that wasn't too bad.
No, man, I love doing this, and I'm happy you asked me. And just keep me posted if it's 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever, man. Be glad to see it. And
I'll
again,
probably
thanks for
have
including me.
I'll probably have a trailer out over the summer, and I'll send you that. I'll keep you in the loop.
Sweet, and then I'll just repost it for you, man. We'll share it on our
Hey,
pages.
be safe in Europe if I don't talk to you.
You too, brother. Have a good one,
Cheers.
man. All right, bye.
Hey, what's up? My name's Lurk, and I'm the host of Lamb Goat's Van Flip podcast. Every week, I have in-depth conversations with bands from all over the scene, big and small. We also like to keep our finger on the pulse and showcase up-and-coming bands on the show as well. So come check out Lamb Goat's Van Flip podcast.